Hey everybody, welcome back to BK's Bullets. Today we're talking Iron Man 3 in our March to Infinity War. Hey everybody, welcome back to BK's Bullets. As always, I'm your host, Brent. Today we're talking Iron Man 3 in our March to Infinity War, which means we're going to go over a quick review of it and a quick little recap for everybody that is either not have enough time to rewatch these every week or just wants a quick refresher before the Infinity War movie happens. So, here you go. Iron Man 3 comes out 2013 in the summer, in May, I believe. And this one is directed by Shane Black, written and directed by Shane Black, unlike the first two, which were written and directed by Jon Favreau. Jon Favreau still plays Happy in the film, Tony Stark's driver, but he's not the director this time. He had stepped back from, I think he almost did the Avengers movie, and now he stepped back enough that he started to pursue some other projects and decided not to direct the third Iron Man film, which is fine. You know, let's shake it up a little bit. But anyway, now Shane Black, if you haven't heard of him, wrote, I think, some of the Lethal Weapon movies. He directed Kiss Kiss Bang Bang with Robert Downey Jr. and Val Kilmer a few years before this movie came out. Excellent movie. I would definitely recommend that if you haven't seen it. What has he done recently? He is, I think, writing and directing a Predator movie right now. Anyway, all of his movies that he writes, anyway, take place at Christmas. This Iron Man 3 movie also takes place at Christmas. For some reason, he likes the idea of things happening at Christmas. No idea. And then this movie wasn't even released during Christmas. It was released in May. Kind of weird. Anyway, so that explains the Christmas thing. It's the Shane Blackism. Anyway, so this is the movie that you have the Mandarin as the villain. Or do we? Not really. It also introduces the extremist concept, which was from the comic books. Let me go get that right here. Here's the Iron Man Extremis trade paperback. It's written by Warren Ellis, art by Adi Granov. Now, the story in Iron Man 3 doesn't follow us to a super T, but it does actually introduce some of the characters. So Maya Hansen is in here. This is her right over here. And this guy right down below, that's not, I forget his name. I don't think Aldrich Killian, I think it's the character's name, and he's also in the movie with Iron Man 3, but he's not the head of AIM or anything in this movie. Also, the Extremis in the movie is used on Pepper, and it's used on everybody else, like the villains and stuff like that, to get this weird glowy ability to like regenerate your limbs and stuff, and it's also unstable, which is why they're exploding, and they're like one-man suicide bombs that don't need any explosives on them because it's within them, inside them. So that's the Extremis virus in the films. In the comic books where this is taken from, it's very, very similar, except that it went wrong on one guy and he's able to breathe fire. And then also Tony Stark gets into a little bit of a predicament and then gets the Extremis put into himself, and then is able after that to do other things with the suit that he couldn't do before. So, and you see kind of that, so in the movies he kind of has, in the comics he has this like weird, so in the beginning of Iron Man 3 you see Tony injecting himself with like little markers on his arms and stuff like that. And then you see him have the Mark 42 suit fly towards him. That idea is not very, I guess it's kind of new, but it's kind of taken from this book, even though in the book he has like this gold shell underneath all that as like a layer, and this is nanites that come out of the little holes and stuff from the Extremis, and that's what the suit's attached to. Whereas in the films they kind of just skip the Extremis thing and just put some sort of sensor in his arm and had the suit come and, repulsor float to him. That's also in the book. There's like a shadow shot of it down here on the bottom, if you can see that. So, anyway, later on, this Extremis thing's like taken to another level where like the suit can like live within him, and that's like the bleeding edge suit and stuff like that with Matt Fraction, and I think you see that in the Infinity War trailer where it's like coming out of him or something like that. And I think in the movies maybe they're going to position this new Wakandan technology that we saw in Black Panther where that suit does the exact same thing. Maybe they give it to Iron Man as a technology share and he, redesigns his suit. Anyway, so just a little difference about what Extremis is and what it does in the films. Also interesting, Adi Granov is the artist here, and he did these 6 issues on Iron Man, and then pretty much, I think after that, he went to work for Marvel Films doing costume design. So the first Iron Man suit is very similar to his design, and he also is still working for Marvel Films as a designer on all their suits and stuff like that. So they'll have promotional pieces of art of his that will do it. Occasionally he'll do a cover for Marvel Comics, but I think most of the time he's working for the studios doing concept design for the films, especially for Iron Man. So I don't think he hasn't really done much comics work since then, which is unfortunate because he's a great artist, but he is super detailed, and I think it's like a pencil look and paints over that. But anyway, great artist. So back to Iron Man 3, the Mandarin. Let's get to the Mandarin of it all. You have Ben Kingsley playing the Mandarin, and everybody was excited for this film because the Mandarin is kind of the main Iron Man villain that everybody thinks of. We had seen them in like the 90s cartoons. The Mandarin is the Asian man with like long fingernails and a long beard. Kind of looks like what you think of Confucius or something, but he's got 10 rings. So 10 rings, what did I say about that? Well, if you recall Iron Man 1, he was kidnapped by the organization called the 10 Rings to build them the weapons and stuff like that. So it's kind of a callback to that film, even though we don't see that main guy anyway. We're kind of wondering if that guy was going to turn into the Mandarin in the first film, at least comics fans were, but he never turned into anything. So you get the Mandarin, you get the 10 rings, but in the Marvel Comics universe, these 10 rings are like rings of power. They're like ancient, powerful rings, and they all do separate things and stuff like that. Kind of like the Infinity Stones, but not quite as powerful. But anyway, he's got 10 rings on his fingers at all times and shoots different repulsor rays and weird shit like that at Iron Man, and that's why Iron Man is able to fight him, and that's what makes him a good Iron Man villain, I guess. But anyway, we don't get that in the movie, and people were so upset at Shane Black for this. I thought it was a brilliant twist. I was laughing the whole way through when I watched it the first time, the second time, and when I rewatched it again a few days ago. Just the way that they twisted around and made the Mandarin kind of the actor Ben Kingsley and Trevor Slattery, and I'm not really the Mandarin, hee, it's all a job, oh, I'm drinking some beer, oh, I'm getting high and getting wasted and, sleeping with models, oh, that kind of stuff. I thought it was a great twist because in today's political climate, not even really like today, the political climate of 2013, when they were making this, that would have been maybe a little racist to have this Asian stereotype guy be the villain of your new blockbuster movie. So I like the way that they got around it. So I thought it was fine. A lot of people didn't like it, and it's because of that sometimes Iron Man 3 gets a bad rap. But if you watch this film, it's really rewatchable. A lot of people also don't like it because they don't think there's enough Iron Man. Even though like the entire finale is 42 Iron Man suits running around and him jumping from one to the other, which I think is a great action set piece. But a lot of people don't like that he's like Tony MacGyver for a lot of the film once his house gets blown up, stuff like that. So I don't know. You can do what you can do. I enjoyed it. So quick little plot recap. You have these guys that are blowing up. Happy gets caught up in one of the explosions, and we have this guy Aldrich Killian, which is the head of AIM, Advanced Idea Mechanics, and he's talking with Pepper, and then it turns out that these guys are linked to the Mandarin, these guys that are exploding, and Tony ends up challenging the Mandarin to a one-on-one battle because Happy got, in trouble. Then the Mandarin comes, or we think it's the Mandarin anyway, and blows up Tony Stark's home with Pepper there, and then Maya Hansen's also there trying to tell Tony about whatever's going on, and then Tony actually, in the cool thing, sends the suit to cover Pepper, and then Pepper saves Maya Hansen, and Tony then kind of recalls it once they're safe, so that he can go down, try and escape the house actually, but he gets dragged down into the ocean. People think he's dead. Ends up in Tennessee at Christmas time. He encounters another glowy, explodey person, and finds out that these guys are related to the military and to somebody into advanced idea mechanics, not necessarily the Mandarin. And then from there, tries to track down the Mandarin, finds Trevor Slattery in Miami. And then there's a whole thing with like the president goes on Air Force One via remote in the Iron Man suit. You don't know he's not there. You find out later on. But anyway, the president is kidnapped by the War Machine suit. They had like taken, I forget how they took Don Cheadle's suit anyway. But anyway, they grab the president, put him in the War Machine suit, and then throw him out of the plane. And the War Machine suit is like remote controlled back to Miami where they're holding him. So that's that, and then we go and we are trying to find Pepper after that, and the president, and we find them both at the same facility in Miami, and after the Mandarin has like spilled his guts and everything, and you find out that Aldrich Killian is actually the Mandarin, so to speak, the big villain of the piece, because he's behind it all, and it's basically all like a revenge plot for Tony standing him up on like the turn of the millennium, New Year's Eve, 1999 into 2000, Y2K, all that shit. And, that's really what all this is about. And he's used Maya Hansen's extremis thing to make himself more powerful into this advanced human. So you have all 42 Iron Man suits then come down. Great action set piece fighting all these other extremis guys across like this oil platform and like shipping containers and things like that. And then you have the end, which is like you think Pepper dies. Then she comes out and beats the villain or explodes him or something like that. Aldrich Killian's no more. Pepper still got this extremis stuff. And then cut to the, then we're back in California. Suddenly, all of a sudden, Tony decides to have a surgery and take the shell out of his chest, and also to remove the piece of shrapnel that was near his heart that this electromagnet was supposed to be holding. So now, anytime you see Iron Man, he doesn't have the glowy thing underneath his shirt. And that's kind of where we're at the end of Iron Man 3. It's almost like, is this the end of Iron Man? We don't know. It's not the end of Iron Man. Of course it's not. But, I digress. Anyway, so that is Iron Man 3 in a nutshell. I like this movie. I think it's a pretty good Iron Man film. It's nice that we got something different on the third Iron Man film. I think, people say they want more Iron Man in the suit, but we had that in Iron Man 1. We had that definitely in Iron Man 2. He's in the suit all the time. And remember, if you remember me saying, people didn't like that one very much because there was too many Iron Man suits. So they kind of took that criticism to heart, seriously, and took him out of the suit, and then people weren't happy again. So it's like, what do you want? But anyway, Iron Man 3, I think it's 4 out of 5 stars for me. A great Iron Man film, really good one. I think if I had to pick one, it's Iron Man 1, Iron Man 3, and then followed by Iron Man 2, just in that trilogy. So there you go, Iron Man 3. So please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think down below, and I will see you guys in the funny pages.